All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday. Happy Monday to everyone out there. July 22nd, we got I believe it's 13 games on today's MLB slate. In this video, we're going to dive into each and every one of those games. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment of this video for all of my final plays. If you do want to roll with me, or if you do want to fade me, all those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. Yesterday, not a very fadeable night. The hot streak continues in July. 3-1 we go last night. The Phillies finally bounced back, and we're still going half-unit plays for like the first week after the All-Star break, so keep that in mind. But Phillies bounce back there. Justin Turner does not walk, and then I told you guys that wasn't a sexy play, but I did like it. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it where we said it in the video. I think it was like minus 145. It moved to minus 160. Still didn't mind pulling the trigger. It cashed at least. A win's a win. And then the Astros and Mariners nerfy, that cashes at minus 120 as well. Jose Siri, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. You can't really cash that one when a guy sends one over the wall, so that's unfortunate there. But we'll take the 3-1 night. We are on a crazy stretch in July, guys. I think it's like 45 and 18 in July. So yeah, don't expect that every single day or every single month, but we'll take it and we'll feel good about it while it is happening. Unfortunately, our ride of the day, Womp Womp time, does not come through from Sean here. He had Ellie De La Cruz and Brian Reynolds for a one-hit each parlay. De La Cruz does his thing. Brian Reynolds 0 for 3. So unfortunately, that ride of the day does not come through. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it is simple. Use that hashtag ride of the day or ROTD in the comments. Give me your favorite play for the day. Make sure it's specific so I know what you're talking about too. I know a bunch of people throw a bunch in there and I'm like, well, which one do you want to roll with? Is it a parlay? That type of thing, right? Be specific. And then I jump on board with one person's pick in the comments. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. The way we select now which one we like is by looking at who has the most likes in the comments. So go down there, find some winners for yourself, and like other people's comments that you like the plays. Use that hashtag ride of the day. I think I just rhymed and I didn't even mean to. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this slate, guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, I don't know if this hot streak continues for, or how long it continues for, but let's enjoy it while we can. Started off with New York taking on Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has had the best of these guys so far in this series, right? They lose game number 1. You're thinking, okay, this Yankees lineup is back and blah, blah, blah. Then the Yankees lose 9-1 to Tampa Bay here against Cortez, lefty, right? Yesterday, they win 6-4, a little bit harder of a fought battle. They win 6-4, but today they're going up against another lefty here. On the mound for the Yankees is going to be Carlos Rodon going up against Zach Littell. So this Tampa Bay lineup, if we jump into the dashboard here, you can see this Tampa Bay lineup the last 30 days is crushing lefties. Guess what? Rodon is a lefty. Now, he is better at home, so that is something that's worth considering. And I'm not going to bank on this Tampa Bay lineup to crush Rodon today, but instead of a side as my main play in this one, I kind of immediately looked at considering the over. It's 8.5 right now. We've seen 2 of the 3 games thus far go over, right? So I'm not all that afraid of pulling the trigger on that one. I wish we had it at like 8 or something like that, because I could see, a 5-3 game or something like that, and it's like, at least give me push potential. But you know what? We don't get to pick our own line. So main play in this one's going to be the over. I'd also consider maybe backing Tampa Bay's team total over, because I do think that they score some off of Rodon today, just not all that much. The reason I'm not, and it's really the only reason that I'm not totally just all in on the Rays to crush the lefty today or anything like that, I guess 2. Yankees are at home, Rodon's good at home, but so is Cortez, and look what they did to him, right? But secondarily, this Yankees bullpen, most of these guys have pitched over the last couple of days, so I don't necessarily, or the Rays bullpen, I don't know if I said Yankees, this Rays bullpen, I don't know if I want to really trust all the way through the rest of the game. Like if they get off on Rodon, I don't want to have to trust that bullpen kind of keeps him in check, right? So I'd lean towards, honestly, the money line, probably somehow working the Yankees in, as crazy as it sound, just because I don't really trust the late innings here. But I don't think I pull the trigger on that. I think I'd much more rather the over in this spot. So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we end up rolling with. Again, this has been a wonky one. Like, the Yankees just have not been playing their best of baseball, right? They've lost more games than they've won. The 10 games prior to the All-Star break, I think they were like 3-7. Like, not exactly the best. So we'll see where this one ends up. Keep an eye on that pinned comment. All right, next up, we have Cleveland taking on Detroit. Detroit coming out of a series in which they looked pretty good, right? They win 2 of 3 against Toronto. The one that they lost by 1 run yesterday. And Cleveland, on the other hand, kind of started that series against San Diego looking good, 7-0 win. Then they lose 7-0, and then they lose, what was it, 3-1 or 3-2 or They lose by 1 run yesterday, so not exactly where sure where to come out there. I will say there's a couple factors here. Tariq Skubal on the mound for Detroit, which is obviously going to be a massive advantage for them. The dude has a 2 flat ERA over his last 5 games. Wow, he's pitching really well. He has a 2.4 ERA on the season. At home, his WHIP is .93, batting average against of 211. The dude is obviously an absolute stud, and he has some decent numbers against Cleveland here. 37 plate appearances against, a batting average against of 229, expected WOBA of 280. So we like to see that. I will say that Cleveland's offense, should be better against lefties than they are righties, but Skubal seems like he's just not your everyday lefty, you know what I mean? So there's obviously a clear advantage from the pitching perspective. The other thing that I would say is Carrasco, as bad as he is and / has been overall, he's kind of reeled it in his last 5 starts or so, and also he has a decent sort of history against some of the guys on this team. Now, only in 20 plate appearances against, but an expected WOBA of 267. His strikeout rate is almost up to 27, an expected batting average against of 185. So there are a couple angles you can make for Carrasco maybe looking good here against Detroit. But again, this Detroit lineup is kind of, finding their groove, right? And now they have their ace on the mound. I don't know if it's smart to bet against them. So I'm going to lean towards Detroit. To get Tariq Skubal at -120 seems like it could be a good move here. Now, the bullpen kind of begs another question. Is this a first 5 or full game type of a play? Honestly, it's probably a first 5, but you're paying a lot more juice. So you might want to pick and choose your price, because Detroit money line's only -120 right now. You look at them with the first 5 innings money line, it's -155. So the safer play, just you're going to pay a little bit more juice, you know what I mean? But I don't mind it overall. In terms of the total, it's sitting at 7.5 right now. I do think, at least the Guardians, maybe full game, can get off 3, maybe, 1 late, 4, that type of thing. And the Tigers, the way they've been batting, I don't care if Carrasco's been okay against them in the past. I think that they put up a decent run number here too. So 7.5, I think, is obviously way down there because Skubal's on the mound. I'm going to lean towards the over in this spot. By the way, guys, we have links to all the 4 major sportsbooks: DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, and MGM in the pinned comment. If you hear me talk about odds on one book and you're not on that book, or there's a really good value play because of the odds on a certain book, those links are in the pinned comment. They have great sign-up deals. I explain them down in the pinned comment, so go check those out. I'm always encouraging guys to have more than one sportsbook or more than 2. The more the merrier, honestly, because those lines and those odds discrepancies are so valuable long-term. So if you mean business about this, go check out one of those other sports books. And no one's asking you to go and put a bunch of money in. No. If you have like say a $100 bankroll with 10 different sports books, you put $10 into each, that type of thing. It's not like all of a sudden you're 10 timesing your input. No. Your bankroll stays the same. Just spread it evenly amongst more books. That's the advice I would give you. But yeah, go check out those links if you're not signed up for any of those books that I mentioned. Pirates taking on the Cards here. On the mound for the Pirates, looks like it's going to be Mitch Keller going up against Andre Palante, who I guess is just obviously a starter for this team now, starting in the bullpen, but now he has plenty of starts on the season. What I will say here is that I would immediately kind of jump to the idea of, well, the Cardinals have an offensive advantage, right? But if you look at how these two teams have been playing, the Cardinals offense still, scoring some runs, but other than yesterday, Pittsburgh had been scoring like minimum 4 runs for a week before the All-Star break, and then it carried over into that series. So I don't know if the offensive advantage is that much for St. Louis, honestly. I think that there could be a decent amount of runs in this game regardless. I know that I sometimes talk highly of Mitch Keller, then sometimes rag on him. He's been okay as of late, but if I've learned anything about backing Mitch Keller, it's when he's been okay as of late, get ready for the next shoe to fall to some degree, which he pitched just at the beginning of this month against the St. Louis team. He went 5 innings, 2 home runs, 9 hits, 6 runs came in, 5 of them earned. So he doesn't necessarily have the best, I guess you could say, record against this team. And the Payante on the other side here, 62 plate appearances against, hasn't looked all that terrible, but still kind of middle of the road. So I think I look immediately at an over. Give me like a 5-4 game at minimum. Whoever wins, great. If I had to throw money on who's going to win today, like I said, I think the Cardinals have an offensive advantage. Pirates have been batting a little bit better, but you get the Cardinals at plus money. If this is a 50-50 in my brain, it doesn't hurt to take the plus money. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'd come out on that one. In terms of player props here in this spot, we did have one that we came across. Let me pull it up really quickly. Pedro Paez, over 0.5 hits. He's hit it in 9 straight games here. I like the matchup against a Mitch Keller against righties. His batting average against jumps about 10 points. So I like that spot. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs. Paez, decent against the fastballs. So there's a spot there. We don't have too much. I think he's only played in like 30 games this year. But again, he's hit this in 55% of games on the season. On the road, 57. On the road against righties in 3 straight. So I like him. Again, that is Pedro Paez here, over 0.5 hits. Keep an eye on the pin comment to see if we roll with that because, you know, if Mitch Keller gets in a groove or stays in a groove like he has been his last couple starts, then maybe we kind of back off from this and we don't have to go all in on a series in which is kind of a meh. And actually, real quick, before we do move on, I do have a nice little promo. I talked to you guys about these sports books and how you should go sign up. Well, MGM has a really good kind of combo today. If you sign up today, you're going to get the up to $1,500 paid back if your first bet does not cash. So you could put, if you want to go wild, $1,500 on something, you'll get $1,500 back in bonus bets, multiple kind of broken out bonus bets. But they also have an insurance play on the MLB today in most states. So you guys can go get that and the insurance play. You have 2 pretty much backed up safety net plays to go over to there and do that. So definitely worth checking out some of these daily promos as well as sign up bonuses when signing up for these books, because if you can combine them or use them, more the merrier type style, then you're looking pretty good, because now you have 2 chances of getting your stake back. But obviously that sign up bonus, that $1,500 limit is absolutely crazy. So go check out MGM, guys. Again, link in the pinned comment for that, as well as all of the other books, but I highly encourage it. MGM is a very, very underrated book. I use them plenty in their same game parlay odds, like I tell you guys all the time. Kind of blow my mind, and searching for the best odds out there is very, very important, like I already told you, if you want to be profitable long term. So go ahead and check it out, guys. That link to MGM is in the pinned comment. If this is a book that's available in your state and you're not on it yet, get on it today. Link in the pinned comment. You'll get all these deals and all of these promos here. Let's go ahead and jump back into the rest of today's slate. All right, we got Miami taking on the Mets here. Yesterday's game, I just don't really know what's going on with the Mets here. They end up losing 4-2. Now, they didn't have their best pitcher on the mound. They had Scott, right? But they're going up against Trevor Rogers, who I feel like should be an automatic L for the Marlins every time. But hey, to each their own. Today we have David Peterson, who could be in that sort of bottom of the barrel category, right, for the Mets here. He has been pitching well, though, so there's like sort of a, I guess a sigh of relief. Over his last 5, 1.4 ERA, but, overall, I do think we know what David Peterson is, but he's going against Yonny Chirinos, who has looked okay at home. Now, what does he have? I'm not even sure how many home starts, but he looks okay at home and bad on the road. I think that this Mets offense should be able to bounce back, but I feel like I keep saying that, but for minus 145, it's about as far as I would play it. Give me the Mets here on the money line. I just can't really get behind Miami, their offense, which again, yesterday we should have, even though I said the Mets would win yesterday, right? I said, I don't know if I like that. I actually like the Miami team total under. They win 4-2. So we could have snagged that. We didn't. We had a good day yesterday, don't get me wrong, but I hate kicking myself for these plays that we liked and then didn't pull the trigger on. But we all know it works both ways, right? But overall, I think that could be another spot today where instead of backing the Mets to go out there and, score a bunch of runs and get to Chirinos, maybe we just take a peek at Miami's team total here. You can get under, I believe under 4.5. Earlier today was like minus 160. So if you're looking at the Mets minus 145, you're kind of in that same already paying a bunch of juice ballpark. Up to you. I'm okay with throwing every, now and then throwing a minus 160 play, and if I do really like it, because a win's a win, but obviously that's a lot of risk for not the most reward. So I think that's how I'd play it. I would lean Mets, but total-wise, I'd look at the Miami team total under. Not necessarily backing Peterson, but, it does help that he's been pitching well, but I'm more or less just fading a Miami team that I don't think scores many runs. All right, next game we're looking at is going to be Atlanta taking on Cincinnati. Atlanta being at home. They lose their last 2 games and lose 2 of 3 against St. Louis. Cincinnati gets swept by Washington, which they were slight favorites in all 3 of those games. Today on the mound for Atlanta is going to be Ronaldo Lopez. Honestly, good pitcher. We know that. We don't have to spend too much time talking about him. He has been just as good in his last, I would say 4 or 5 starts as he has on the season against this current roster here. He's been a little iffy in 50 plate appearances against. Expected WOBA of 368, expected slugging of 440, but expecting batting average actually a little bit lower here, 229. And then you look at Hunter Green on the mound for the Reds. It's one of the better guys the Reds have to offer. He has been lights out with the exception of 1 start recently and against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, but he's a 1.6 ERA over his last 5. In his last 3 starts, only 2 runs combined allowed there. He's going to throw tons of fastballs. If we go into the dashboard here, you'll see he's going to throw a ton of fastballs, as is Ronaldo Lopez. Atlanta does not hit fastballs very well. Cincinnati actually does. So there is some part of me that wants to say, hey, let's pull trigger on this Cincinnati team. They just haven't been trending in the best of directions, right? Getting swept by Washington. I don't think Cincinnati's the type of team that goes rah, light a fire under my ass after that. Like, they're Cincinnati. They could be, wallowing in their sorrows or whatever the hell the saying is. That being said, I think there's a strong argument to say that minus 142 for the Atlanta Braves team right now, if it's not Chris Sale on the mound or something like that, like, isn't exactly a fair price. So I think I might look at Cincinnati here for a big plus number just due to those fastballs. Like I said, both these guys are going to throw fastballs. One team hits the fastball well, one team doesn't. It's kind of where I stop I stop my speech here. Give me the Reds, even though it kind of pains me to do it, plus 130. And I say that even with kind of like it doesn't sound too confident, but plus 130 is like flyer territory, right? Like, I don't have to be as confident in the world for a plus 130 play, but I think we have better odds of hitting that than plus 130. So the price might be right. So keep an eye on the pinned comment. There is a chance that goes in today. I also like the idea of both of these pitchers. You'd probably have to get these over on Prize Picks or Sleeper or something like that, because I'm sure sportsbooks will juice the hell out of them. But I like both these guys to walk 2 guys today. Hunter Green's done that in plenty, and I think that Ronaldo Lopez should be able to walk a few guys here as well. And at home this season, he's got a 10.8, almost 11% walk rate at home. So definitely something worth considering there. But yeah, give me Cincinnati. Those player props, I guess. In terms of the total 8, I like where that is, but if I think that Cincinnati's going to win this one, it's probably going to be because they score runs. And the Braves, I don't think the Braves get shut down by Green or anything like that. So I'll lean over, but it definitely is, out of everything I've thrown your way, probably the last on the totem pole. All right, Minnesota taking on Philadelphia. We obviously have 2 good offenses here in this spot. Philadelphia bounces back for us, but we played them both days prior to, so we didn't make money in that Philly series, even though they end up catching the win. But Minnesota, not exactly what you'd like to see out of them. They kind of competed, but then obviously ultimately end up losing those 2 games against Milwaukee here. In terms of how these teams have played against one another, they haven't seen each other yet this season. Last series, we had 3 lopsided games. Phillies winning one of them, Minnesota winning 2 of them. Ranger Suarez was on one of those receiving ends, which he is on the mound today for Philadelphia, going up against Bailey Ober. I think both these pitchers are good. I think that, the offenses are going to drive this total up like we see at 8.5 right now, which is totally fair, but maybe I'm the contrarian in the room today. I'm going to actually look at taking a peek at the under in the first 5. You can get that for plus 100 over on FanDuel right now. Just moved to minus 108 actually, so never mind. Not plus money, but still near even odds there on FanDuel for under 4.5. Even if you want to go with a little bit safer, more juice play, give yourself push potential on ESPN, minus 135, under 5 in the first 5. So these are 2 really good offenses, but I trust Ranger Suarez on the road, and I think Bailey Ober should be pretty good against this team overall. He has a decent pitch mix. Philadelphia, good team against hitting the fastball, not great. He also is going to throw a lot of changeups, middle of the pack there as well. The cutter they're very good at, but that's his 3rd pitch. So I think we could see Bailey Ober have a successful day. And honestly, a 3-2 after 5, if we were to pull the trigger on the 5 there, I don't mind that altogether. I want to go with the full game under here, but we know both these teams at any point, one swing of the bat or, they have a big inning, they can kind of tilt it one way. So I think the first 5, trusting these starters could be the way to go, but I've already seen a lot of people on Twitter and whatnot saying that, they like an over because you have 2 really good offenses in the building today. But Philadelphia's offense looked a little shaky in that Pittsburgh series. Minnesota's, they scored a decent amount of runs in that Milwaukee one, but time to come back down to earth, trusting both these pitchers. I guess in terms of where I'd come out on a money line play, I really can't look past the Phillies here. I think Minnesota's bats may be a little bit hotter, but Phillies with Suarez on the mound, who's been really good on the road this season, minus 115, seems like it can't pass that up. All right, Texas taking on the White Sox here. So Texas coming out of a series in which they lose 2 of 3 against Baltimore, but they did get the last win there. Chicago has lost, I want to say it's like 9 of their last 10 maybe, and 7 straight. So not all that great. However, if we look in the dashboard, and by the way, guys, if you don't know, this dashboard is for channel members. There's a join button right under the video. There's also a link in the description. If you guys do want to check it out, $2.99 per month. You get every single game broken down each and every day from a pitching perspective, pitch mix, batting perspective last 30 days. days, and then batting against those pitch mixes. We also have some bullpen data there at the bottom as well. But what I wanted to get to in this one is you look at this dashboard, and I usually gravitate towards green. That's sort of the best thing about the dashboard. It's color-coded so that if you want to start your research off on the right foot, you can kind of just see where your eyes take you. Eric Fetty, the greenest thing when it comes to, Texas or White Sox pitching and Texas or White Sox batting. So definitely something worth noting here. You can see the bullpens kind of both bottom of the league. Obviously, Chicago's offense is absolutely terrible, but for the price you're getting, I don't think it's like that crazy to say, I don't mind the White Sox plus 160. Do I think this makes its way into being a final play? No. But I'm immediately saying with Lorenzen on the mound for the Rangers, I'm not paying minus 175. So, gun to my head, I literally am saying I think White Sox may be the play here today. But again, I don't think I don't have the balls of steel to make this play because that is still kind of crazy. But we'll sound the psycho alert alarm for the lean. When it comes to the total, if the White Sox are going to win this game, I don't think that they still go out there and score a bunch of runs. It's just that they got to Lorenzen early and then probably cooled off. It's probably like a 4-3 win, something like that. So I'll lean towards the under, but I don't think that the Rangers are going to have the best of times trying to get to Fetty here overall. So maybe this is a play where we kind of just say, okay, instead of backing the White Sox offense and stuff, maybe we look at Texas team total under and kind of live with that, because then we're backing Fetty, backing the White Sox still, but we don't have to back the White Sox bats. Does that make sense? That may be the way that we do it, and we don't have to worry about the psycho alert alarm. And before we do move on with the rest of the slate, I always have trouble with this word, so comment psycho in the comments right now. That lets me know that you made it to this 21-minute mark, but don't go looking up how to spell it or anything like that. Just how the hell do you spell psycho? Because I always get the P, S, Y, pretty much all the letters confused in psycho. I can't pronounce things, nor can I spell, I'm just a dummy that likes to gamble, guys. So comment psycho in the comments if you made it this far. All right, Cubs taking on the Brewers. Carne Asada on the mound for the Cubs today, going up against Tobias Myers. Tobias Myers hasn't been all that terrible as of late. He's got a sub-2 ERA over his last 5, 3.13 on the season. Not exactly like tremendous on the road, but I'd say kind of, middle of the, I guess correlated to how he's been on the season. So nothing that's totally noteworthy, right? And he's good against righties, which this Cubs team has. I think it's like 4 or 5 righties in the lineup. Haps a switch, so he'll bat lefty. So I think it might be 6 righties in the lineup today. So definitely something worth noting there, as he's a different pitcher against lefties versus righties. But actually kind of have that same argument for Carne Asada here on the other side, right? And I believe that they have a similar thing going on where he's actually really good against lefties, not righties, but there's more lefties in the Milwaukee lineup, like 4 of the 5. So righty-lefty splits aside, I still think Milwaukee probably is the play here. I don't love the price tag because I do think that this is more of a 50-50 game, and you're getting Milwaukee at minus 110, which is obviously like the sports books 50-50. But again, I like when I think things are 50-50, pulling the trigger on probably the plus money play, but I don't really want to fade Milwaukee's offense as of right now. 5 straight games of 5+ runs coming out of the break too, 8-8 in those ones. And the Cubs haven't scored 3 runs since the All-Star break. So if this is offense to offense, I think Milwaukee has an edge here overall. In terms of the total, like I said, I don't necessarily like the Cubs offense. I like Milwaukee today, so maybe we look at the Brewers team total over and kind of call it a day there. One player prop spot that I really don't mind is going to be kind of targeting, like I said, the lefties against Carne Asada here. So Javier Assad, I even throw myself out, Javier Assad is obviously a good pitcher against lefty batters. His batting average drops to 223 against. His extra base hit percentage drops, so does the slugging. His ERA drops, all that good stuff, right? So I think Bryce Terang may be the play here. On the season, he's hit the under 1.5 bases here 65% of the time. On the road, he's hit it 50%, which doesn't seem all that great, but all of a sudden you look at him against righties 58% of the time, and in his last 10 games here against any pitcher on that, he's gone 10 straight games without getting 2 bases. So definitely something to consider, but he could be right on the verge of kind of breaking out of a slump. But overall, I do still think that this is a trending play, and we have kind of a perfect batter to pitcher matchup for it. So keep an eye on the pinned comment. Bryce Terang under 1.5 bases could honestly be a play. All right, next up, we're looking at Kansas City taking on Arizona here. Kansas City coming off of a sweep of the White Sox, so obviously you kind of take that with a grain of salt there. Arizona coming off of what I would say is like a hard-fought series win, 3-2 against the Cubs there. Today on the mound for Kansas City is going to be Cole Reagans going up against Yeiber Diaz for the Arizona Diamondbacks, so he's yet to have a road start this season. So definitely something worth noting. He's looked honestly decent in his two home starts, so something worth noting there. I think he's 22 or 23, something like that. So we don't know too much about him, but that also means the Royals don't know too much about him, right? But overall, you do see the Royals as heavy favorites in this one, and it makes total sense why. My main play here, I think, is just going to be Royals team total over. I don't want to say that the Diamondbacks can't get to Reagans. They've been decent against lefties over the last 30 days and everything like that. And he's going to throw a lot of fastballs. Arizona, again, we flashed to the dashboard here. Arizona, one pitch that hit his fastballs. Reagans is throwing that more than any other pitch out there. And then Diaz is going to throw a bunch of fastballs. Again, only 2 games, 12 innings of a sample size. He actually throws fastballs. Kansas City doesn't hit it all that well. So I don't really want to go with the who's going to win the game. I just think even if, Kansas City doesn't hit the fastball well, they'll figure out a way to get, 4 or 5 runs off of this guy. And then even heading into the Arizona bullpen, that isn't all that great. So I think that's how I'll play it because, again, I'm not really all in on this Royals, money line play, to be honest. This kid's been good enough. The Royals don't hit his pitches all that well, but Royals over 4.5 right now for plus 120. You can get their over 3.5 for minus 150. There's ways to play their runs without having to mess with some sort of money line play. So I think that's how I would play it if I do. I don't always love, and I've said it before, I don't love to bet these guys I don't know much about. I think me and Kyle Kerms have talked about it too. When we have these pitchers that we just don't know too much about, that's a wild card. And if you're an intelligent sports bettor, you're not going to take the question marks and run with it. So for what that's worth, that's kind of a hybrid play between money line as well as total. Kansas City, you're over in terms of their runs, but even that's sort of like a 50-50 chance as of right now before we get into further research of it making its way into being a final play. And kind of on that note, before we get into this Colorado and Boston game, we got a few comments yesterday of someone saying, and I do appreciate these comments because they're valid, I liked when you used to go into every single game and break down every single part, and now you get to some games and you're just kind of meh, I don't really like it. That is just the truth. As we go through more and more games, as we build even more and more of an audience, we got to keep things optimal and efficient, and if there's a series or game that I really don't have much interest in, I'm just giving you my picks, right? I give you the information, I tell you who's starting, which way I would go, but I'm not going to fake the confidence of a play and then all of a sudden people ride with it and like it, and then all of a sudden I'm but I didn't even like it that much myself. So you're going to know where I feel and how I feel, how strongly I feel about a series or a game based on how I break it down. You know what I mean? So I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but I do apologize to the people that are well, even if we liked, I think it was the Oakland and LA series, last series ago, I was just kind of whatever, this is, I guess, is where I would go. And after giving my spiel, it's that's just kind of how I feel about it. So it is what it is. I apologize to the people that want all of the numbers and all the deep dive stuff in that game, but you're getting Ev's MLB picks here, and I'm breaking down the games. If I don't love a game, I can spend my time finding some of these games and plays that I like more and putting that 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes into that game than one I don't care about, if that makes sense. I think that's better for the larger group. Nonetheless, rant over. Let's jump into this Colorado and Red Sox game here. Gomber on the mound going up against Tanner Houck. I think that says enough here, right? Tanner Houck on the mound, definitely a guy you want to back. I don't know about in Colorado if that's, I don't have his splits for in Colorado. Definitely nothing that I would worry about. This is a guy that's having, if there weren't some other guys in the league, he's having a Cy Young candidate year in a sense. Gomber, not so much. But I would go with the Red Sox here. Minus 160 on DraftKings. You're paying a hell of a lot of juice. If you were to look at them from a first 5 run line perspective, that could be something that you look at. Red Sox minus 0.5 in the first 5, minus 125 over on FanDuel right now. Not exactly the worst odds. What I will say, though, is Colorado's been sitting here at home, right? Their last series, I believe, San Francisco, they were at home, right? They've been sitting at home in Colorado. The Red Sox go from LA to Colorado. I'm not saying the distance is all that far, but now they're playing in the elevation and the altitude and all that. And it's is Colorado a little bit more comfortable? Is it going to take the Red Sox a day to kind of catch their breath? Who knows? But Tanner Houck on the mound, I do trust that. I could also look at maybe a way to play this being Colorado's team total under, just trusting Houck will do his job. And if the Red Sox don't score a bunch of runs, whatever. Colorado can go out there and score like they did in that San Francisco series, 4 and 2 in the last 2 games. So maybe that's a way of playing it. That's kind of, again, a hybrid between the total and a money line play. All right, next up, we got Oakland taking on Houston. Oakland, I guess you could say their offense looked pretty good. Even in their one loss against the Angels there, they scored 5 runs. Better than Houston's offense looked in that Seattle series, but Houston did take 2 of 3, so that's obviously something worth noting there. Arrieta on the mound for Houston. I hate to say it, but he's been pretty good. He has one throwout start, and it was against Toronto, kind of got to him. But other than that, his last four starts, three of them has been 2 earned runs or less. Hogan Harris on the side for Oakland here. He's also not all that terrible. So I do think we have somewhat of a decent pitching matchup here, as crazy as that is to possibly say. You're getting Houston, who is the better lineup. I don't think that there's any argument about that, even though they're not as hot, like I already mentioned. You're still getting them at minus 140, so that's probably where I'd lean, but I think I might consider an under here, under 8.5, just due to the fact that, like, I'll sound it. Maybe these pitchers are, Hogan Harris could kind of suppress the Astros offense, and then the Athletics kind of, blew their load. Yikes, in that last series, maybe something like that. So I think that there's a way to get to an under here. I just don't want to trust the over necessarily, because I could see the Astros going out there and maybe scoring a bunch of runs, but are the A's going to carry their weight? I can't see that totally happening, but Houston's probably my money line play here, just because they do have the better offense, and if this were to turn into a game where a big hit needs to be hit and that type of thing, they're probably the move. But yeah, Houston in the under, probably what my eyes are set on. All right, Seattle taking on LA, the Angels. We have Bryce Miller on the mound for the Angels, going up against Tyler Anderson, who actually hasn't been terrible on the road. But I think the first thing that I jump to here is going to be taking a peek at the Nerfy. I like no runs in the first inning. Seattle's been a team that has been cashing for us there. We have just dominated Nerfies as of late, so knock on wood. But yeah, it's been pretty damn nice. A large part of our 45 and 18 run here in July. I think this could be a good spot, and I'll tell you why. Both offenses, middle of the pack to bat, okay? And then you have Bryce Miller, who's obviously been really, really good at home this season. And like I said, Tyler Anderson's actually looked pretty okay when it comes to him being on the road. He's got an ex-WOBA here against current Mariners of 288. You like to see that. That's an 80 plate appearances. And then Bryce Miller, ex-WOBA of 254. So both these guys give me 3 outs each, and I think we're looking at a nice Nerfy. In terms of a money line play now, we've been talking about how bad the Mariners offense is, and I just kind of talked about it too, right? They do get a little bit of an uptick against lefties here. Tyler Anderson is a lefty, so I can't really get to the LA side of things, though that price tag of plus 145 looks nice. It's just not enough for me to say, you know what, I'll take them, because if you look what the Mariners just had to go through, they just battled, they played against Seattle, Seattle had to go. They just played against Houston, which is obviously a tough series, divisional game against them. They went through Texas, Miami, they took 3 of, but prior to that, they played Minnesota. Like, they've had some tough series so far. So looking at them saying, but they haven't been winning many games, LA should be one of the lighter teams that they've played, with the Miami Marlins excluded, in a while. So, give me Seattle on the money line, but it's pretty damn priced out. In terms of the total, I know I said I like the Nerfy. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to get to 7.5 here. Maybe an Angels team total under for the first 5. We can get it for plus money at 1.5 or slightly juiced at 2.5. We'll see. Probably 1.5 is going to be what it is. So that could be a play. But overall, I like the Nerfy the most in this game. In our last game on the board, we got the Dodgers taking on the Giants here. In terms of who's pitching for the Dodgers, I believe, I don't know too much about him. River Ryan here, which is a sweet name, a young kid here. I think he's coming up from AAA with no starts so far this season, at least what I've seen on RotoWire this morning. In terms of what we have from the San Francisco side of things, we're looking at Blake Snell, who, man, oh man, how do you even define this guy right now? He has 2 really good starts in a row, but both those came at home, right? He's been god-awful on the road, but is Blake Snell finally kind of getting his groove? Is he finally able to go out there and be the Blake Snell that we know? I think potentially, and I think that this could just be a decent spot to ride in, because you're getting a guy that, regardless if he's going to be bad or not, you're getting a kid making his debut here for the Dodgers. You're getting the Giants at plus 125. Coming off a series in which they feel like they could have done better against Colorado. I think that that's going to be the move ultimately. So I'll lean towards the Giants, and it honestly does have a chance of being a final play, but I really have to think long and friggin' hard about riding with Blake Snell, because he's just been way too inconsistent. But like I said, his last 2 starts, both at home, were not home today. 7 innings pitched and 5 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, combined for 11 strikeouts and 3 walks. So he had it going, But does he have it going at home? On the road? I'm not exactly sure. In terms of the total here, I'd actually also consider a slight nerfy lean here, first and foremost, because I think Blake Snell, if he can get it going, good. But that top of the Dodgers lineup is scary. I get it. And then also, like, the Giants have never seen River Ryan, so maybe he has 3 successful innings. But in terms of total overall, I'd have to lean towards the over because, like I said, Blake Snell, definitely a chance he can get rocked. And then River Ryan, what do we know about him, right? Maybe the Giants bounce back after a bad series against Colorado. Guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. If you're watching still near the 35-minute mark, I'm sure you're already in it because you're a real OG, but we do have a Discord with nearly 8,000 people in there. It's completely free. I'll put a link in the pinned comment. Go ahead and join that, guys. A lot of good talks there. We got Groomsy in there making recaps every day. Those funny videos that I post as YouTube Shorts and on my Instagram and whatnot come via him. He makes hilarious recaps. Good days, bad days, all the likings. Not what I said before. But overall, guys, go ahead and check it out. Those videos are absolutely electric. Check out the Discord. Catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.